We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup.
This is the raw, naked truth.
Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin. The White House has been unhappy with the way the media is covering it. Deputy Communications Director Kate Berner recently called out Politico for allegedly not touting the Biden administration's historic achievements enough. So let's take a look at the Biden administration's historic achievements. The first historic accomplishment that Berner mentions is the appointment of Judge Jackson, the first African-American woman to be appointed to the Supreme Court. While this is an accomplishment, and she is the first to join the court, she is not the first to be nominated to the federal bench. In 2003, then-President George W. Bush nominated Janice Rogers Brown, an associate justice on the California Supreme Court, to serve as a judge on the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit. She was the first black woman nominated for the federal bench. Joe Biden filibustered and voted against Janice Rogers Brown. Biden publicly stated that he would block Brown if she were nominated to the Supreme Court. While the accomplishment is historic, it is only historic because Joe Biden kept it from happening earlier. Berner also touts historic lows for unemployment claims. Unemployment hit historic lows during the Trump administration. They went up because of the pandemic and are now returning to those lows. What Berner did not mention is that unemployment for women, unemployment for African Americans, and unemployment for Hispanics, all of which hit historic lows during the Trump administration, are higher now. So this historic accomplishment isn't across the boards, it's mainly just for white males. Berner also spoke about the historic international efforts to provide relief on Putin's price hike. Yes, the international effort is historic, but Biden's participation in it is questionable at best. It's not about Putin's price hike, it's about the war in Ukraine. Biden had to be pushed on sanctions, he has failed to provide needed weapons, and the weapons he has committed to providing have been slow to arrive in Ukraine. Boris Johnson and other European leaders have gone to the Ukraine, but Biden has not. His leadership on the global stage has been absent. Also, the American public knows that oil and gas prices were going up before the war due to Biden's policies. While the war has pushed them higher, it is not the cause for the bulk of the price hike. No matter how much the White House tries to blame Putin, the public knows that Putin isn't the reason for all these price hikes. Now let's look at some of the historic achievement Berner didn't mention. Historic numbers of illegal immigrants coming across the southern border. Title 42 will be the last pillar to fall before a historic flood of migrants sweeps across our southern border. Since Joe Biden was inaugurated, roughly 3 million illegal immigrants have crossed into our country, and over 1 million illegal immigrants have arrived in the past 6 months. Despite these record numbers, President Biden will repeal the last tool Customs and Border Patrol has to expel illegal immigrants. Title 42 is a health care directive that allowed immigrants to be turned away due to COVID. And while the CDC and Biden administration are saying the pandemic no longer possesses a threat large enough to stop untested, unvaccinated people from coming over the southern border, it is still serious enough to require masks on all flights, negative COVID tests for people who are coming to the country legally, and masking young children in many school districts. There's also historic inflation. In most polls, inflation ranks as the top of voter concerns. Despite initially stating that there was no inflation and then calling it transitory, the inflation rate has continued to hit historic highs. While Biden tries to deflect responsibility, economists told the administration before passing the American Rescue Act that it would cause inflation. Since then, the administration has pushed historic levels of government spending, pushing inflation to new highs. Finally, we have the historic withdrawal from Afghanistan. Turning the country over to the Taliban, Afghanistan has become a safe haven for terrorists. Despite assurances from the Taliban, the rights of Afghani women have been stripped away. The withdrawal created a historic humanitarian crisis and a historic national security issue. Those are some of Biden's historic accomplishments. That's the raw, naked truth. If you have a topic you'd like us to look into, or you'd like to comment on what you've heard, you can contact us at xvadio.com/connect. You can hear the raw, naked truth as well as the rest of the XVadio podcast network at xvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Audible, and wherever you find podcasts. We'll see you next time.